am Lexi Tronic. I am a veteran sex trade worker, queer film writer, artist, party thrower, and super happy that you guys are here. My lord.
So you grew up in Winnipeg. You
Yeah.
said she was really religious.
Yeah, my mom was really religious. She was Pentecostal. She was like a holy roller. One of my memories, but actually the earliest memories of my mom, not earliest, but memories of my mom is when she said for my, I don't know, if it was like 13th birthday, I could have friends over. And so I invited all my friends over and we danced in the basement and everything was super cool and I felt really cool. And then on their way out, as they were leaving, my mom decided that she was going to put her hands on each of the kids and give a prayer like, "You are healed." She was like, you know, she was unmedicated at those times, but she was totally manic depressive.
Did your mom kind of turn you off of it, or would you ever?
You know, I never believed in God. I ran away from home when I was 14, 15, and the way I ran away from home is I got my friend to write a note for me saying that I had to go to summer camp for the summer, but really what I did instead of going to summer camp was just lived on the streets and shoplifted from Safeway and slept in parking garages and...
You said in Osborne Village.
Osborne Village, yeah. It's like the punk rock kind of like sketchy part of town, you know. It was wholesome. It was okay. And I have two brothers, and they loved getting their haircut. They played with like masculine toys. They would wrestle, and I was just so feminine. Like they would punch me and I'd cry. Get my hair cut and cry. It was like.
Where are they now?
They live in Winnipeg. My older brother has just had a child. My younger brother.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I guess so. My younger brother's had a few issues, been incarcerated and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm an auntie, I know.
Auntie Lexi.
I know.
Auntie Lexi, you're
I should
embarrassing.
breastfeed. I started going to like gay bars when I was 15. There was like the notorious gay bar called Club 200, which is like the seediest gay bar in Winnipeg. It's like, I think the whole bar as a group would have a full set of teeth. And,
teeth optional?
Yeah, it was.
You don't need them.
It was like the Gummer party. My first time ever trying a trick was actually in their bar, and I was like 15, 16, and a guy offered me a pitcher of beer and like I think $17, and that was it. I was hooked.
A cheeseburger?
A cheeseburger. Well, you know, I was trying to watch my weight back then. Somehow I ended up becoming friends with a woman by the name of Divas who's also trans, and she had gotten murdered.
Can I say before we keep going, what is Two-Spirited? Do you know
Two-Spirited is in Aboriginal culture. It is, it's greatly accepted in First Nations and Aboriginal culture for someone to be trans. It's actually quite normal. And Two-Spirited people were thought of as shamans and highly regarded and respected. And for somebody to come out in your family and say, "Oh, I'm trans," it was almost kind of like a gift to your family. So
okay.
She was a Two-Spirited woman. Probably my first time ever dealing with a friend who was a sex trade worker who did get murdered, and it really impacted me lots. It impacted my life, like in the way of that. It changed a lot of things that I did. I stopped working the streets for that reason because I was afraid. Years later, I did a TV show, and in one of the things that they asked me, what did I want to represent? And I said, I wanted to represent, legalizing prostitution in all aspects. In Winnipeg, what they do is they find sex trade workers who are working in certain areas, like in front of schools or in front of houses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They find you, but they don't find the girls who are pushed into these dark alleys. And Waterfront back then was not lit, and it was like a place where anybody could go missing because it wasn't as safe.
The conditions are just like...
Exactly, and there was no accountability for anybody out there. It was like, these are like forgotten people. This is like wasteland people. They're people who are, by society standards, would be disregarded, who are actually offering a service which is, a very honest service.
We hear so much about sex workers going missing. Mm-hmm. We hear so much about Aboriginals going missing. We hear so much about trannies going missing, and the government not.
Well, trans sex trade workers who are
all three.
Yeah, trans sex trade workers who are Aboriginal. Come on, I mean, the media itself, glorifies it, and
how do they glorify it?
Well, they glorify it by to sell a paper. So they stigmatize, first of all, what the person is doing. This person is not, first they take away from the person who they are as an individual. They're not a daughter, they're not a sister or a mother. they are stigmatized as call girl, gone missing, she-male, gone missing, tranny, prostitute, hooker gets slain, anything to sell a paper, but when in all actuality, it really defaces, what actually is really going on there. Mm-hmm. And so I did lobby my local member of parliament. No, I showed up with a petition to my MP with a bunch of names signed on it, and I asked him if he would sign my petition in decriminalizing all aspects of sex trade work.
The thought being, if it's decriminalized, then it's easier to protect them.
It is, and it's empowering the women instead of, and in Canada, our laws are actually pretty good for.
It changed recently in the past year, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's good for sex trade workers because what it is actually legal to sell sex in Canada, but there's all these little tiny clauses that they stuck in there. They're not fully saying it because they don't want it to be an Amsterdam situation where they say, oh, it's perfectly legal, and then there's no guidelines to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, you said before you can even go into surgery, you have to live a year as a woman.
Well, yeah, before you even start hormones, and I think this is really, really cruel of our government to do, is what they do is they send you to a psychiatrist and they give you an evaluation, and the evaluation is to see if you are like if this is something you really want to do. Like, of course, like somebody's gonna be like, just show up at the office, oh, I want a pair of tits, you know what I mean? And you don't take hormones, so your hair is growing, you're putting makeup over it, it's even more ugly, it's stubble and hair.
Pan stack.
Yeah, totally, pan stack, and you're being made fun of, you're being ridiculed, and basically if you survive a year of ridicule, you're allowed to go on a hormone. Basically, plastic surgeons are kind of like used car salesmen. I mean, one of my memories of going to a plastic surgeon, it was my first time getting my boobs and my nose done. And I was super excited because it took me a long time to save that money, and I was paying actually in cash for it. And I walked into his office and I said, oh, I want my boobs and nose done. And then he pointed out all these other things that were wrong with me.
Well,
I had a protruding forehead, my cheeks weren't good, and I needed this and that. And I walked in there feeling really good that I saved the money, and I walked out of there feeling really shitty and low about myself. A lot of trans women have to wear wigs, and the reason why that they wear wigs is that they've had their
scars.
Well, not even scars. Scars, yes, I have lots of scars on my face, but when they do a lift or brow, or they pull your hairline back, and they pull it so far that you're just like, okay, I'm just going to shave my head and wear a wig. I mean...
What else have you done?
I've had a lot of surgeries. I've had rhinoplasty. I've had 2 sets of lip implants, which were harvested off of alloderm, which is harvested from dead people. And what they do is they cut both sides of your lips, and then fuchsia is like underneath your skin, and they harvest it off dead people and roll it into cigar-like material, and then they inch it through your lips and sew it shut. And I had that done twice. I've had my cheeks done. I've had a brow lift. I've had the buccal fats where they cut up the fat inside your mouth.
To sculpt the cheekbones.
Yeah, sculpt the cheekbones. I've had body sculpting and and also I've had silicone pumped into me. I swore to myself I swore to myself that I would never get silicone because so many
straight up pumped into you?
Yeah.
Medical can migrate, right?
It can migrate, but what I got is medical grade silicone, and what is medical grade silicone has no smell. It's like just a liquidy texture, and what people are pumped into other people are bathroom tub caulking, cement, Crisco. And I moved back to Winnipeg, and I got in touch with an old friend that I'd known from when I was younger, Guy Madden. And Guy Madden's an acclaimed film director who did The Saddest Music in the World with Isabella Rossellini, My Winnipeg, which was kind of like his take on like a bio of Winnipeg, which were amazing films. And he was doing a Jack Smith film, and Jack Smith is a legendary queer filmmaker, and his films paved the way for a lot of queer films to become, what they are. Most of his subjects in his films were either transgendered or queer, and when he released Flaming Creatures, it was deemed by the District State of New York as pornography. And Berlin in 2009 was doing a tribute to Jack Smith because of, all he had done for the queer community and trans community by, liberating queer film and making our bodies not something in pornography, but something that was, you know, legitimized.
Well, there's not always that debate of like the line between art and pornography. It's a very like social 101.
It's lighting.
Talk about.
That's the quiche. And the film that I did for Guy Madden was just like a 14-minute short, and basically I wrote it. I stayed up all night. I wrote it with a friend, and the film was about if transgendered women and intersex women were the gods and the evil Satans and the, you know, pagan goddesses of the world, and controlled what was going on in the world below. And one of the characters had a huge beacon tower, like an old radio tower on her head, and went beep 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 beep, and it sent signals down to the world, telling the world, you know, how to, you know, basically act. And
what was it called again?
It was called The Little White Cloud That Cried. And we shot the film in one day at Guy Madden's cabin, and it was for the Berlin Film Festival. I went to Berlin Film Festival, and it got great reviews. It played a few other film festivals, and then Toronto International Film Festival for 2010 was doing their top 10 films of 2010, and the film that I wrote got voted top 10 films of 2010, which was mind-blowing for me. Just, you know, I think our trans community is so segregated, and there's so many people who are so busy trying to pass and say, I'm a woman, and you know what I mean, but in all actuality, no matter what surgery you've got, you're never going to be a born woman. You have to accept that you are trans, and you got to accept yourself first. And I think that, feel proud of who you are. And you know, even like a lot of my friends would be like, "Oh, don't out me," and I'm just like, I'm so tired of that shit. I'm just like, girl, I'm just a big old tranny. I know voting is so important to me, and I'm, you know, when the vote comes around, I gather all my friends, I phone everybody, and I have like a wide range of friends who are, you know, straight, gay, and freaks, and whatever. And the hardest group that I find to wake up out of bed and to mobilize are transgender women. I phone them and I'm like, it's time to vote, and they're like, oh, I'm not voting today. I'm like, honey, are you kidding me? You're not voting today? You want to get a pussy paid for by the government, and you're not getting out of bed to vote? Well, honey, if you're not voting and you don't get that pussy, it's because your vote didn't matter.
Yeah, definitely.
You know?